Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. I'm Brent Peterson. I'm an American living in Portugal. I'm with my friend Lorraine today, and we got such great response from our Life in Portugal videos that I thought we'd talk to some expats who are living the dream of moving to Portugal. So Lorraine, tell us about yourself. Where are you from?
So I am from Brockville, Ontario in Canada, and I come from a mental health background. I worked with a lot of mental health teams in a neurofeedback capacity. I walked the Camino de Santiago from the Francis route, and I had a very good friend that had passed away, and we always wanted to do it. So 6 weeks later, I returned home, sold my business, and made my way to Spain, visited Portugal a number of times, and now I am in Setúbal.
It all sounds very familiar. You know, we sold all our stuff, came here with 3 bags each, and landed in Setúbal, and you know, we didn't know that we were going to stay here yet. Going on 3 years now. Here we are in this great city. What was it about Setúbal that attracted you to the city?
So I come from a city that's on a river, and it has the same ships, some of the same ships that come into the port here. So I traveled for over 2 years looking for a place that would touch my heart in Portugal. And when I came for a visit here, I looked down into the harbor and I seen the ships lit up at night, and it was just like being back in Canada. I knew my heart was here. It was like my universe went full, like a full universe.
So it felt very familiar to you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You said you had looked around other places in Portugal. Where else did you look at?
So I started up near Viana do Castelo. I lived up there for a period of time. I always wanted to be near a Camino so that I could walk the trails. And then I moved to the Algarve during COVID. Was there, did a lot of hiking, went on to Madeira, was certainly just looking for a place to call home. And then when I came here, I just knew it. I just knew it.
I don't think that's unusual. I think a lot of folks, they kind of try all different places before they land in the final place. I think Karen and I are kind of the exceptions, that we just landed here having never been to Setúbal. We'd been to Portugal before, but we never been to the city, and we said, well, you know, doesn't work out, we go somewhere else. Portugal doesn't work out, we'll go somewhere else. If Setúbal doesn't work out, we go somewhere else. And pretty much on day 3, we knew that we'd made the right decision. So, you know, I think what a lot of people don't realize is there's a pretty complicated visa process that you have to go through before you come to Portugal. I've had multiple people say to me, oh, would you just get on a plane and move there? Obviously not. You know, like any country, there are processes that you need to go through. I assume, being from Canada, yours was similar as far as the process. What visa did you end up getting?
I ended up having a D7 visa.
Same as us. This is a passive income visa. So you must show that you have sufficient means to support yourself through passive income, meaning some people it's Social Security, some people it's something like a rental property or dividends or something like that, not a job, passive income. So that's what the D7 is, just so folks understand what kind of visa we're talking about. But and that's not the only thing you have to do. So what was your process like?
So my process, I started actually during COVID, and I felt that I wanted to come back to Portugal even during that time. So I had applied actually twice and was denied because the embassies were short-staffed. There just was not the process in place. And I had a fiscal representative in Viana do Castelo who was Portuguese, and she encouraged me to try one more time, and it simply went through.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you had someone helping you out.
Yes, I did.
And did you find that to be helpful to you, not having to do it by yourself?
I found it very helpful because she would translate all the letters. She took me to different government offices. I personally felt that it was very beneficial.
A lot of people decide to do this on their own, and it's something you can do on your own. It's possible. It's not that complicated, but I had a lawyer assisting me too, a Portuguese lawyer, and for me what I found was not taking you through the process per se was most helpful. The most helpful part was kind of the hand holding, you know, the what I say, the talking me off the ledge. I'm like, it's been 6 weeks, why haven't we heard anything? You know, is this gonna happen? My hair's on fire, right? And she's like, don't worry, everything is copacetic, you know, we're going in the right direction. There's really nothing to worry about. And she was right, you know, it happened pretty much exactly like she said it would happen. And it sounds like you had a very similar experience.
Yes, I think that you have to be very patient with the process also, because one appointment may turn into 3 appointments. And we just say here, that's Portugal. So if the dream is big enough, you know, the facts don't count.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, if you really want to do it, it's just not going to happen overnight. It does take some time.
Any kind of bureaucratic appointment or any kind of, even to like open a bank account, which isn't necessarily bureaucracy, it's more just dealing with a company. I always say 3 visits. Even though you think you've got everything ready to go, it's always 3 visits, no matter what you're doing. Even if it's like, I'm trying to give you money, please take my money. 3 visits tends to be what we found, which is fine. You know, for me, it's fine because it gives us a chance to practice our Portuguese and kind of learn a little bit and kind of immerse ourselves into the culture a little bit. Speaking of the culture, you came from Canada, we came from the US, but you know, North American culture is relatively similar. What did you find when you came here that surprised you about the culture?
What surprised me and what I absolutely love is how slow the culture is. That they choose to work to live, not live to work. And that's what I love about the Portuguese people. Sometimes things do take a lot longer, and when you just accept that, then you're going to enjoy and embrace Portugal.
You got to put aside your go mindset.
Oh yes.
You know, and just realize it's going to eventually come. I mean, some people I know, expats, they'll, I'll give the example, they go to a shop and it's closed and you find out, oh, Joao took his motorcycle and went to the beach today because he didn't feel like working today. And some people, there's 2 ways of looking at that, right? You can be PO'd and be like, why isn't he working? Today's a work day. Or you can be like, good for Joao. Go to the beach, man. Have a Sagres. Enjoy life. And you know, what do they call it in Costa Rica? Pura vida.
Yes.
It's kind of the same, you know, slower pace of life. Anything that you found as far as culture that a culture shock, something that you said, man, I really missed how this worked in Canada?
I have to say no. In Canada, I was just like being in the health field, and everything was just very busy. Family was busy, friends were busy. So no, nothing really. I can embrace it. I can learn to live slower, which is very healthy for me.
It's really nice to be able to go and see your friends, you know, hang out with them and have a coffee. I can't tell you, you know, back in the States, it was always like, oh, well, I can see you 6 weeks from tomorrow. You're free at 10:45?
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely.
Here it's like you go for a coffee and it might last 6 hours.
Exactly.
One thing people talk about all the time is the cost of living. And you know, when I do these videos, people are always asking, well, how much did it cost? What was the cost? So how have you found the cost of living coming from Canada to Portugal?
Okay, so the cost of living in Canada has really gone up, exponentially. And here in Portugal, people feel that it's gone up, but compared to the quality of the food that we get here, it doesn't compare. I would say it is at least towards Canada now, because our price is 30% less here, possibly even 40%. And I believe also with the Portugal having 2 to 3 growing seasons, that makes everything fresh. Everything you can buy from Portugal. You don't have to have it shipped in from another country or on a boat for 2 months before it arrives in your country. So the quality of the food doesn't even compare to Canada.
You say 30 to 40% less. What are some of the categories in your budget that you find are significantly less than Canada? Food is maybe one of them?
Absolutely. So food, the price of meat, I eat chicken and fish, at least 30 to 40% less. Dairy products, the excellent cheese that we have, at least 30% less.
You don't have a car.
I don't have a car.
We don't either. So, when you eliminate that expense from your budget, that's always significant, because there's no insurance, there's no maintenance, there's no gasoline. What about housing? Do you find that to be significantly less as well?
I find the housing, because I live and choose to live very simply, and I live in 65 square meters, which I never thought I would. I call it my tiny house. So yes, choosing a different lifestyle. That's what I find has been the best part about coming to Portugal, to live simply, to live day by day, to eat good food, to be surrounded with really happy people, to be around, good people.
So you mentioned the food a few times. What about eating out? How often do you eat out?
I probably eat out more than I should, and I would say at least 3 times a week, just depending.
That's not crazy.
No, it's not. It's very social here, though. So a dinner, when you go out, isn't like in Canada where the server is waiting, with the check, within 45 minutes. Here you eat for 2 to 3 hours. You enjoy your time. You drink wine. You converse. It is a different lifestyle. So yes, and the quality of the food and the restaurants, the variety. We all have our favorites, which can be economical. There are other higher end restaurants. There really is everything for everybody.
So let's talk a little bit about those different kinds of restaurants. There are high-end places even here in our humble little town of Setúbal. I like, what's the place called? The Michelin place over by Astoria. Yeah, I like that for bringing friends when they come to visit from the States as kind of a splash out. But that's not every day eating out. What types of places do you like to go to? Strictly Portuguese food, other kinds of food?
So I love the Portuguese food. One of my favorites, of course, is their pastry, the pastel de nata, which can become very addictive, with a wonderful cup of coffee, which does not even compare. Like, the Portuguese coffee is absolutely one of the best coffees compared to our Canadian coffees, which are all imported, of course. I love the variety of food. One of my favorites would be Nepalese, Italian.
Right across the street here, not too far from That's a great place.
Love it.
I think one thing people should know is that that I found interesting is there are actually more people from Nepal in Portugal than there are Americans in Portugal. The population of Nepalese. And so because of that, you get these great Nepalese restaurants, and we have one that I know is good because I've eaten there, you've eaten there, and another one just opened, which I haven't got to yet.
Okay.
So we'll have to go there sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where else do you like to go?
I like the new Lebanese restaurant.
That place is great too. That place is outstanding.
It is wonderful. It's very fresh, and the service is great. The people are very friendly that run it. And I like the fish restaurants. I love the fresh fish here. Yes, it doesn't compare to Canada also, that you can go, 6 days a week and get just the best dinner and have it that has come from the ocean that day. So it doesn't get better than that.
6 days a week. You don't go on Monday. Fishermen don't go out on Sunday.
That's correct. That's what I'm told by the Portuguese.
So you like the grilled fish, which is very common. You go to restaurants here and they'll even have a little grill outside built into the wall where they're grilling up fish or they're grilling up pork or whatever. But our city's also known for the fried cuttlefish. Have you tried the choco frites?
I have, and especially when I have visitors come from Canada, then we try it. It is very good when it's fresh. When it's fresh, and we have some specialty restaurants here that you know that it will be one of the best places. So yes, it's okay. It's not something that I would eat every day, although I think it's a great treat for people that are coming to visit.
So have you noticed in a lot of the traditional Portuguese tascas, because you talked earlier about the really, really good fruits and vegetables that you can get in the markets that we can get almost year-round here. But have you noticed in some of the traditional Portuguese restaurants that it's difficult to get really good fresh veggies on the menus?
Absolutely, and I believe just from understanding more of the Portuguese and having some Portuguese friends now, that it's about the potatoes, a starch, and a meat. And that very seldom they would have the vegetables. So in the restaurants, it's not common. And coming from North America, of course, we like to have that third of our plate, with our veggies. So no, it's not common. And I can see as more expats do come, to Portugal, that it will be something that will be more available.
I think demand is changing that. And like you mentioned earlier, the ethnic restaurants from other places where vegetables are more prominent, maybe in Indian restaurants. There's lots of great Indian restaurants in Portugal. You might see it. In the Lebanese restaurant we were talking about earlier, they have good veggies there too. And you said the starch. That was the other thing that very much was a culture shock when I came here, is that you will see generally on the plates in a Portuguese tasca, not only will you get potatoes, usually French fries, but you'll also get rice on the same plate. And in the United States, you would never, ever do that because it's all starch, right?
Exactly. And I believe it's so cultural here that it is just something that helps to fill the belly. That's all it is, and just very cultural, like it used to be in North America, where it was strictly meat, potatoes, and vegetables. How I grew up in Ontario.
Yeah, because Portugal, until recently, was a poor country, and still, it's in Western Europe. It's one of the poorer countries, and rice, which is grown here, and potatoes are cheap and they're filling, and you can get your calories that way. So it becomes a cultural tradition that even as Portugal becomes wealthier, they're not steering away from that, at least in the traditional tascas that we go to.
Exactly.
So a lot of people are very interested in coming to Portugal. There's a lot of questions about it. People are looking into it. They're thinking about it. Do you have any, besides the idea that of having some stick-withedness in getting your visa, but do you have any advice for folks who are thinking of coming here about things like what their life is going to be like, or what their expectations should be, or how their mindset should maybe change before they decide to make the leap?
Okay. I truly believe that if you're not wanting to live in a city like Lisbon, Porto, if you're wanting to live in a smaller community, your expectations have to be less. You have to go into a small shop and know that it could be 5 minutes before you get served. It might be 10 minutes. They might be talking to their friend that's just come through the door. Yes. And it is what it is. So it's not North America. It is Portugal, and one of my favorite words that I've learned is calma calma. And just to slow down has been so good for me. So if you're coming and expecting everything to be like North America, like run, 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 that's not how it's going to be. It's much calmer and things take longer, and I like it. That's what I do like about it. But some people do get very frustrated. I've had friends come from other countries and they say we can't handle it.
Right. They can't get out of that mindset of go, go, go. And you really do have to do it. Karen and I, the mantra that we have is we want to bend towards Portugal. We don't want Portugal to bend towards us. And this is my number one fear in Portugal as the expat community becomes larger, becomes more influential, is that Portugal will change to adapt to the North Americans who are here, rather than the Americans adapting to Portugal. And in some ways, you're seeing it. In some ways, even in little Setúbal, you're seeing it in some ways. But I think the traditional Portuguese culture is so strong that it will. This is just going to be little pockets. There's going to be little bumps along the road. But I think for the most part, that as long as we are respectful, that Portugal will stay Portugal. And that's what I would like to see.
Okay, and I'm in full agreement with you. I've moved to Portugal because I want to live in Portugal. I don't want to live in little North America. So I do believe bending. I believe to immerse into their culture, to volunteer if we can, to give back also to a country that is being very good to us.
Very generous.
Yes.
Have you noticed other places on this topic? Have you noticed other places in Portugal where it's maybe, because you've lived in several places here, have you noticed other places in Portugal where maybe the culture is changing, where it is becoming more of a pan-European or a North American or an English-focused culture rather than a Portuguese culture?
Absolutely. I have very good friends that live in the Algarve, and I've lived in different towns throughout the Algarve, and they are bending more to the expats, and the Portuguese are being more put aside, and they're becoming very influential with their traditions.
I think if that's what you want, you can go to the Algarve and you can see there's huge resorts down there, there's golf down there, and there's Irish pubs, and there's bad pizza, all the comforts of home.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
If that's what your mindset is, that does exist. But to me, this is my personal opinion. It's not right or it's wrong. But to me, it's a much richer experience if you try to immerse yourself at least a little bit. And part of that is learning the language, I think, which is something I've definitely struggled with. How's your Portuguese skill?
So, pouco. So I registered for school this fall.
Oh, good.
And so, no, my Portuguese is not great. I know probably 50 words, to be polite and to get by. Although I do believe it is important living in another country, that's part of embracing their lifestyle, is to know their language.
I agree. It's not easy, though.
Oh, it's not easy.
Especially at our age.
No, exactly.
Learning the language is much more
Exactly.
difficult. Karen and I did go through the school program, and we got our certificates, and I think you'll find it extremely valuable.
Okay, good.
And extremely rewarding. We met some of our closest friends.
Okay.
In the class, people that we're still very close to. So
nice.
Hopefully, some folks who will come in and do a video like this in the near future. Well, Lorraine, it's been delightful talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for sharing your outlook and what you think about living in Portugal. Hopefully folks are going to find it valuable. I'm sure they will. So if you did find what Lorraine said valuable, like the video, and also leave a comment if you have questions. We talked about a lot of different things here, so maybe folks have questions about one or two of the topics that we talked about. that they want more detail, and I'd be more than happy to do another
Okay.
video later. So thank you again.
Lovely.
It's been great
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
It was wonderful.